Here's a thought about a pre-flight checklist. The last time I was flying somewhere, as I was getting settled into my seat, I looked out the window and I saw the pilot down on the ground looking up at the plane, and I thought, of course, they're doing the pre-flight check, which they always do before takeoff. I'm sure he has a pre-flight checklist in the cabin, too. It's a great idea for safety and to double-check everything before the action begins. Well, why couldn't we use that idea in photography, I thought. And then I realized I never use a pre-flight checklist, and therefore I keep making the same mistake over and over again. And that is, my digital camera allows me to create a new file folder, and all the images subsequent to that will be stored in that file folder. And then when I go to the next location, I can make a new file folder, and all those images get stored in a separate file folder. It's a great idea, and I always forget to do it. But I wouldn't forget it if it was on a pre-flight checklist. So I put together a pre-flight checklist, which has turned out to be a real time saver. And on that list, I include such things as remember to turn on the GPS logger on my cell phone so that I can match the GPS log to my images in Lightroom and get a GPS location on all of them. Starting a new file folder, checking the lenses to make sure that they're clean and ready to go. I always take a picture of the blue sky now, whenever there's blue sky, and I can use that to look for dust spots and clean the sensor before I begin shooting instead of discovering them when I get back home. A pre-flight checklist. It's not a bad idea that saves time in the long run and is not a bad way to sort of warm up and transition into creative mode.